Hi there, it's Tracy, and I have a special bonus episode for you today. But before we get started, I have a question. Have you ever wanted to learn more about your family's past, but not sure where to begin? Over the years, we've had people reach out to us, sharing how much they've enjoyed listening to the show, and that they've wanted to ask questions to learn more about their own family's history, but are either too scared or don't know where to start. Well, good news, we've created the VBP Conversation Kit. It's a deck of cards with 48 questions to help you start the conversation, including a quick timeline of major historical events and how to record your stories and share them on the VBP Journeys Collective. We hope the kit will help make the process less intimidating and more fun for families to share stories at home. So check it out at vietnameseboatpeople.org/share. I'm excited to be one of the first to share with you a new podcast short series called Before Me. It is a 5-part documentary produced by our friends at Self-Evident about journalist Lisa Phu chronicling her mother's journey from Cambodia to America over the course of decades. For most of her life, Lisa told a story about her mom and her family and how they first came to the United States. Some of it was right, some of it was wrong. None of it was actually ever told to her by the people who had lived it. After Lisa gave birth to her first child, her mom flew across the country to care for them both. And during that visit, she finally shared the real story with Lisa about growing up in Cambodia, fleeing genocide by the Khmer Rouge, surviving as a gold dealer in Vietnam, building a home in America while navigating the fallout and traumas of war, and carrying the future of her children throughout the journey. This is episode number 1, Firstborn, in the 5-part series. Take a listen.
Hey everyone, it's Kathy. After hosting the Self-Evident podcast now for 3 seasons, I'm really excited to introduce our new show, which is called Before Me. This is a series we've been working on with award-winning journalist Lisa Phu, whose family came to the United States as refugees from Cambodia. I'm just going to pass the mic to Lisa, and I just wanted to give you a little heads up. This episode contains descriptions of death during war, acts of genocide, and family separation. Thanks for listening.
Hi, Hi,
Welcome.
Oh, wow. She's very good size. She's beautiful. Yes. Ooh. Ooh. Wow.
This was the first time my mom met my daughter, Acacia, 5 days after she was born. It was early October 2016, and my mom had just flown from New York to my home in Juneau, Alaska.
More beautiful than pictures.
Isn't she?
Photo, yeah. Can you see her?
Yeah. I'll do another one.
Does she look more like Milan or?
Oh, I think she definitely look more like you.
I think it's the case for many grandparents, but my mom would transform with Acacia. She laughed differently, and she laughed a lot. I was convinced she was having more fun with Acacia than I was.
Look at her forehead. Look at that forehead. Everyone said that's her daddy's forehead. She said half and half, yeah.
Half and half.
Yes.
Isn't she cute, though?
Yeah, she's cute, yes. She's adorable.
Your first grandkid.
First grandkid.
It was amazing to see my mom act this way, but it was also mixed with a lot of stress for me. My mom is a small woman who might be easily overlooked, but she loves starting up conversations with strangers. She can be brutally honest with restaurant waitstaff when they ask her how the food is, and she knows how to make an impression. This is what I wrote in my journal after our first full day together. Day one with mom makes me feel like it's going to be a long 3 weeks, but I also have to remind myself to be appreciative and enjoy the time and try not to argue with her. But we had epic fights. Fights where we both shouted and screamed and made each other cry. The kind of fights where you just keep pushing and pushing, wanting to hurt the other. At one point, I even told her maybe she should leave a week early, because I knew that would crush her. This sounds crazy now, but I resented her helping me, telling me to nap when Acacia was sleeping, scolding me for lifting something heavy, offering to fold laundry. In my everyday life, I do fine without my mom's help, so I thought, why should this time be any different? I wasn't able to accept her assistance happily. Of course, she was a mother too, and in the middle of all of this, she told me what happened after she gave birth to her first baby in her home country of Cambodia.
I kind of moved to my mom just for a few months so she can take care of me. Because the Chinese tradition that within 100 days, you're not allowed to live, to do anything, to cook. You know, for women, it's only luxurious time, only vacation time that when you have the baby. Usually they give you 100 days.
Luxurious? Vacation? Didn't she have to get up at all hours of the night?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was breastfeeding. I mean, the same thing. The baby's hungry, you have to feed. I changed her diaper. I don't think we have diaper before, so we just use the cloth. And my mom, the one, have to wash all the cloth, deal with the poops, you know. She take care of all my laundry by hand. We didn't have a machine then. That's a big thing for women, you know. They don't expect us to do laundry within that 100 days. And she cooks, she cooked for me, you know. And the tradition, I told you, very spicy pork with a lot of peppercorn. Teriyaki style, add a little peppercorn. That's one way. And another way is the pork sliced thin and stir fry with ginger and scallion. We always eat that pretty much every single day because they believe that will strengthen the baby's stomach, you know.
She had tried to tell me about the pork, and I had brushed it off as crazy talk. But it was all important. She had been trying to tell me all along. This is likely obvious to everyone else, but my mom wasn't visiting me at one of the hardest times of my life to make it even harder. She wasn't offering to help because she thought I couldn't handle it or because she thought I was doing it wrong. She wasn't even there just to help. She was fulfilling a tradition. This is just what a Chinese mom does. She takes care of her daughter after she gives birth. This was a revelation to me, and afterward, I started accepting her help without resentment. I was able to nap and appreciate waking up to her cooking in the kitchen. The sounds and smells of someone else making dinner all of a sudden became miraculous. It did feel luxurious, and by accepting her help, I was simply fulfilling my role as a Chinese daughter. I can't say the rest of the visit was argument-free, but there was a lot more room for patience and understanding. My whole life, I've grown up knowing there was so much I didn't know about my family's past. Not just cultural traditions, but things like, what did happen to my mom's first daughter? I remember writing a story when I was 6 or 7 about meeting this sister on a magic carpet ride. I've always had a narrative about what came before me, but it was something I put together from bits and pieces that I'd overheard. At various points in my life, when I tried writing about it, I always got something wrong. My mom would issue the corrections and edits after the school essay had been turned in or the magazine story published. For instance, I didn't know I was ethnically Chinese until I was 20 years old. Up until then, I thought I was also part Cambodian or Vietnamese, since these were the countries I heard most about growing up. I never asked my mom the most basic questions. But us being in the same location together for 3 weeks was my opportunity to finally do just that.
Well, just ask you some questions about your life.
My life, oh my God, it's a long story.
I'm Lisa Phu, and you're listening to Before Me, the 5-part story that follows my mom's journey from Cambodia to America, and the long overdue conversation that helped us connect over our family's history. In the years before my mom had her first child, her life was filled with uncertainty. She lived in Kampot, in the southern part of the country. When she was a teenager, the Vietnam War was going on next door, seeping into Cambodia. In 1969, the U.S. began bombing Cambodia in hopes of destroying Vietnamese communist camps and supply bases.
Attacks are being launched this week to clean out major enemy sanctuaries on the Cambodian-Vietnam border. This is the decision I have made.
At the same time, Cambodia was having its own war between the Cambodian Republic and the domestic communist group called the Khmer Rouge. In the midst of all this, my mom got married. She was 17. My dad, Ki Song, was 26. Both my mom and dad are Chinese and come from families who immigrated to Cambodia. After getting married, my mom immediately moved in with his family, and soon after, they had their first child. Her name was Ali.
Your father, he had nothing to do with the baby. He did not wake up at night. He did not know how to change diapers. It's not part of the man's responsibility in that Chinese culture.
When they had their first kid, my mom and Ki Song still lived in Kampot. By the way, I didn't grow up with my dad, so I sometimes refer to him as Ki Song. He fixed watches and clocks for a living, and my mom ran a small business at the market, selling stuff like candy and laundry detergent. My parents and Ali lived with Ki Song's parents and his brother's family. Ki Song's brother was Ki Juk, and Ki Juk had 6 children. Living with extended family, growing up with grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins, that was the norm. My mom said Ali was a lovable baby. She even won the affection of Ki Song's father, who normally didn't care for girls. He didn't like his own daughter and didn't pay attention to his other granddaughters.
However, he likes my daughter very much. Yeah, so he actually come to take a peek of her when she sleep, and he stare at her, He just love her. Very unusual.
You don't know why?
I don't know why, but she's so easy. She's very easy baby. She's so cute. She is so cute.
Life was relatively normal. Normal for wartime, that is. My mom said bombings had been going on for a few years already. So even though my mom and her family were surrounded by war, it was still manageable. But that changed quickly. By 1974, Cambodia's civil war had more than doubled in intensity. The Khmer Rouge had gained control of most of the countryside, and their leader Pol Pot was terrorizing the cities, including where my family lived. It was becoming more and more apparent that in order to stay safe, they'd have to leave.
We were sitting in the living room, talking, discussing when we're going to escape, when we're going to leave the house. And there's a bomb dropped on the street, and 1,000 fragments went into the house, and one fragment just came right here.
A piece of shrapnel landed right next to my mom.
When we heard the bomb, we all leaned down to the floor. I was with your sister, holding your sister, leaning down, and all of a sudden I feel wet. I got wet. And then I smelled blood. I knew somebody died.
Ali was all right, But the shrapnel had hit Kijok, my dad's brother, through the temple.
Oh my God, all the brain, all the blood, just the whole entire body's blood just comes here, soaked the living room. And of course, we all sob and we know there's a death in the house now. Now everybody takes serious. After we did his funeral, and that's the time that we decided to take the whole family, leave the land.
What killed Kijok, my mom's brother-in-law, my uncle, was a Khmer Rouge rocket. The Khmer Rouge were using rockets more and more in the early to mid-70s. They would fire the rockets into the city without having a specific target, and the shrapnel would kill and injure people. The number of casualties per rocket was small, but it caused terror and chaos. After my uncle was killed, my mom, Ali, Ki Sung, and his parents left their home in Kampot, took a boat, and fled toward the Vietnam border.
When we lived in the border, we did not have a house. We lived with someone we know, and oh my God, the water was filthy, everything was filthy, nasty living, very, 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 very bad. Then the grandfather, Ki Sung's father, he's old and he's so used to his own place. He said, you know what? I cannot live in a place like this, it's too complicated. So he insists to go back. So grandmother said, you know what? I think I'm going to bring your little one back home.
At that point, they'd been living along the border for a few months. My mom says violence in Kampot had quieted down. So my dad's parents took Ali back home while my parents got their bearings at the border.
At that time, nobody know what the future bring, and nobody know what the road in front of us was so misty. Nobody knows. And we came to the Cambodia border just for temporary. That was the plan until stop bombing. They still bomb, but Kampot was a little safer.
After my grandparents and Ali left, my mom and dad moved into a different house, which they converted into a business during the day and sold clothes out of. Ki Sung went back and forth to Kampot a couple of times to bring my grandparents money and baby formula. My mom made the journey once to help out and spend time with Ali.
Yeah.
Do you remember what she was wearing when you last saw her?
Yeah, she was wearing, let me try to remember what she was wearing. The favorite color I gave her was a little pinkish, shirt. Yeah. Yeah, she's so cute. When I went out, she always sit in the door. A year and a half, she sit in the door to wait for me to come home. So sad. Too bad grandfather, grandmother did not want to stay with us. Grandfather was very difficult. Otherwise we will have them stay. But they did not want to stay. But where we are is not safe either. It's a Cambodia border, and that's where the Khmer Rouge live. They can come by bicycle. They can slaughter everybody,
You can probably hear that my mom's trying to explain why they made the decisions they did, why they let Ki Sung's parents take Ali. But you have to realize there was no right or wrong thing to do. There was no playbook for war. My parents remained in that house for as long as they could.
The reason we stay there because we're hoping to see your sister. We're hoping she'll come one day. We were hoping that somebody would check her out. Somebody would bring grandmother and her out every single day. Every single day we're hoping to see her.
The plan was for everybody to be together again eventually, but my mom and dad were forced to leave the border. During one of Kisong's visits to Kampot, Khmer Rouge soldiers came to the area. My mom was all alone, and she heard gunshots. She called it a slaughtering.
They know you're not part of them. They just shot people gun and they kill people. You know, even a civilian, so what? They kill you because they know you're not one of them. And they also want a territory. You know, they kill you so you get scared, so you leave. Your father wasn't with me, but oh my God. Now I have to take myself and whatever I can take in bicycle, and I move myself toward Vietnam. He was lucky somehow. He took the boat and then get himself to Vietnam. And that time, that was the end of our residence, our business in that border.
Once my parents settled in Vietnam, they tried to go back to Kampot to get Ali and Kisong's parents and bring them over the border.
But you know what? Things happened so fast. Boom, boom, boom. The border was blockaded. Yeah, we could not go back. Could not go back. And the next thing they know, the Khmer Rouge gather all the remaining people in the city. No matter where you are, they gather you and force you into the countryside. You heard about it, right? And turn them to farmers.
What my mom is referring to is April 17th, 1975, when the Khmer Rouge took over Phnom Penh and started evacuating all the cities. The regime had won the Civil War and would rule over Cambodia for 4 years. The goal of Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, was to institute the ultimate totalitarian system enforced by violence and mass killing. Historians and researchers estimate that they killed between 1.7 and 3 million people, or close to a quarter of the country's population. The idea was to develop Cambodia on an agricultural base. The Khmer Rouge forced people from the cities into the countryside and into labor camps, where they died of starvation and illness. Others were brutally murdered. As these evacuations were taking place in 1975, my dad's parents left Kampot and walked to the town of Tuk Mia, where my grandmother is originally from. They were still taking care of Ali, along with my grandmother's relatives. Then my grandmother got really sick.
So she knows she's going to die. So she gave your sister. She handed your sister to her nephew and wife. The couple did not have children. And she said, you know what, I give you Kisong's daughter. Please take care of her. One day, she said, take care of her. One day when you see the parent, you give her back to her parents.
My dad's cousins cared for Ali for more than 3 years, and my mom says they loved her. But one day, Khmer Rouge soldiers came to their house with a list. On the list were the couple's parents, who'd been landlords. The couple themselves were not on the list. Neither was Ali. City people, educated people, former business leaders, they were all being targeted by the Khmer Rouge as traitors. But the soldiers said the people on the list would simply be relocated. My mom told me about all of this while holding my daughter Acacia in her arms.
So the couple who had your sister say, oh, the parents are older now. We have to go where they're going. We like to go with them. He didn't know. So he decided to go with them. So they add them on the list and your sister also on the list, and then they killed them all. They killed them all. They shot them. She was 7 years old. And people who came out, who I met, who have known her, that lived with her, they said she was the nicest little girl. So sad. It took me so long to able to repeat the story.
When Vietnamese soldiers defeated the Khmer Rouge in January 1979, many who survived left Cambodia as soon as they could. My mom says people who had known Ali found her in Vietnam to tell her what happened. Up until then, my mom had always held on to hope that she'd see her firstborn again. When I was 20, my mom and I went to Paris and visited relatives who lived there. I remember walking around the Eiffel Tower. My mom was speaking to one of our relatives in a language I didn't understand. Besides English, my mom speaks at least 5 other languages. So at one point, she turned to me and said, "He knew your oldest sister and says she was very kind. You would have liked her." She said this casually and then started talking to our relative again. I didn't ask her to tell me more. So much of my life was like this, hearing small snippets of a long, complicated story. But now I know who that man was. He was one of my dad's cousins. His brother was the one who took Ali in.
I probably questioned him a little bit here and there, about what he know. But he and his parents separate too. So they went together, so he wouldn't know that much. All he knew, they were killed. And, all he knew that his brother adopted my daughter and they were killed together.
He had met her though, so what did he say about her?
She's so cute. Oh, she is so adorable. Not only he's got very good nature. When a kid have good nature like this, people like them.
Do you think about her often?
Of course. Of course, I think of her often. I think of Ali a lot. Life move on, but I still think of her. You never forget your baby. Never.
On the next episode of Before Me, my mom recounts the harrowing years she spent fleeing the Khmer Rouge.
So Kisum quickly told me that bring the baby and hide under the bed. Don't get out no matter what.
This episode was written and produced by me. Our editor is Julia Shu, fact-check by Harsha Nahata and Tiffany Bowie. Production management and sound design by James Boo, and additional help from Kathy Irway. Original theme music by Avery Stewart. Audio engineering by Dave Waldron and Timothy Lu Lee. Thanks to Ben Kiernan for speaking with me about the historical context of what my family experienced. And of course, special thanks to my mom. If you want to record an oral history interview with someone you love, even if you've never tried it before, check out selfevidentshow.com/history, where you'll find a free toolkit to help you take the next step. Before Me is a Self-Evident media production. Our executive producers are James Boo, Ken Ikeda, and me. The show also receives support from the Alderworks Alaska Writers and Artists Retreat and the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council. I'm Lisa Phu. Thanks for listening.
I'm Tracy Nguyen Mang, and thank you for helping us preserve history. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app, and please take a moment to rate us and provide us feedback. And if you have a story to share, contact us at stories@vietnameseboatpeople.org.